Hello and welcome to our podcast, Customs and SST Handouts. Today, we're going to deep dive into one of the most important and often misunderstood customs facilities in Malaysia's manufacturing landscape, Licensed Manufacturing Warehouse, or LMW. LMW is often talked about as a tax incentive, but in reality, it is a regulatory framework, a compliance commitment, and a long-term operational model. If you're a manufacturer, especially one importing raw materials or machinery, this episode will help you understand what LMW really is, who it is meant for, what you gain, and more importantly, what you are responsible for once you are licensed. Before we begin, a brief introduction. My name is Barry from Barrick Partners, a Malaysia-based customs and indirect tax advisory firm. Over the years, we've worked closely with manufacturers across various industries, electronics, aerospace, automotive, medical devices, helping them structure, manage, and sustain LMW facilities, not just during application, but throughout the life cycle of the license. Our focus has always been on one thing: bridging regulatory intent with business reality. Segment 1. What is LMW and why it exists? Let's start with the fundamentals. The Licensed Manufacturing Warehouse Scheme is established under Section 65A of the Customs Act, 1967. It is a customs-facilitated bonded manufacturing scheme designed specifically to support export-oriented manufacturers. In simple terms, you are allowed to import raw materials, components, machinery, and equipment without paying import duty and sales tax up front, as long as those goods are used to manufacture approved products for export. In many ways, LMW provides similar benefits to free industrial zones, but without the geographical restrictions. The broader policy objective is clear: reduce production costs, improve cash flow, strengthen Malaysia's position as a regional manufacturing hub. This aligns directly with Malaysia's National Industrial Master Plan, which prioritizes export-led growth and high-value manufacturing. Segment 2. Who is LMW really for? LMW is not for everyone. To qualify, manufacturers must meet 3 core requirements. First, manufacturing license. You must hold a valid manufacturing license under the Industrial Coordination Act, 1975, or an exemption letter issued by MITA. Second, export orientation. At least 80% of your finished goods by value must be exported within a continuous 12-month licensing period. The remaining 20% may be sold locally, but anything beyond that requires specific approval from MITA. Third, manufacturing definition. Your activities must qualify as manufacture under Section 2(1) of the Customs Act, 1967. This is important because trading, simple repacking, or activities with no value transformation may not qualify. One common misconception: if your finished goods and raw materials are already non-dutiable, LMW offers no real benefit, and therefore you may not be eligible. Tax and duty benefits. What do you actually get? Now let's talk about benefits, the part everyone is interested in. For raw materials, components, and packaging materials, import duty is suspended, excise duty is exempted, sales tax is not imposed. For machinery, equipment, accessories, and spare parts, import duty exemption applies, sales tax exemption applies. Machinery must be new, unused, and used directly in manufacturing. There are also exemptions for manufacturing aids, cleanroom equipment with ESD characteristics. But, and this is critical, not everything is exempted. Items like forklifts, office equipment, generators, air conditioning systems, petroleum products, uniforms, these are explicitly excluded. Another important point: LMW does not exempt anti-dumping duties, countervailing duties, export duties, service tax, LVG tax, or other statutory charges. Segment 4. Sales tax position. Why LMW is a special area. Under the Sales Tax Act 2018, an LMW premise is classified as a special area. This means it is deemed outside Malaysia for sales tax purposes. You are not required to register as a registered manufacturer. This has major implications for your invoicing, procurement, and internal tax controls, and it is one area where mistakes frequently occur. Licensing, guarantees, and premises obligations. An LMW license is valid for 12 months, costs 2,400 ringgit, and takes effect from the first day of the following month. Renewals can be up to 24 months or up to 5 years for companies with AEO status. Most manufacturers must also provide financial security either in the form of a bank guarantee or a general bond. This is to secure duties and taxes on raw materials, finished goods, machinery, and other assets. Your premises must also meet strict requirements: permanent and secure structure, CCTV, guards, alarms, approved layouts, fencing, CCC or occupation permit. Any structural change requires prior customs approval. Segment 6. Permitted activities. LMW is more than just manufacturing. In strength, LMW is flexible. With approval, LMW companies may conduct R&D, testing and calibration, product design, remanufacturing and repair, labeling, packing and kitting, supply chain management activities. However, these must remain secondary to manufacturing. Sales from value-added activities must not exceed 40% unless you have IPC or RDC status. Subcontracting is also allowed, locally and overseas, but within strict percentage limits. Once these limits are breached, approval is no longer optional, it becomes mandatory. Segment 7. Reporting, keeping records, and audit reality. This is where many LMW companies struggle. LMW is a self-accounting regime. You are required to submit monthly statements, M1, M2, M3, annual statement, M4, with audited financials. Daily inventory records must reconcile with physical stock, customs declarations, and financial records. Customs inspections are risk-based, can be scheduled or surprise, and reduced for compliant and AEO status companies. Good compliance doesn't just avoid penalties, it earns you facilitation. Segment 8. Enforcement, cancellation, and real consequences. LMW licenses can be suspended or canceled for breach of license conditions, inaccurate reporting, security issues, non-payment of fees, or serious regulatory violations. Non-compliance may result in payment of all suspended duties and taxes, financial penalties, criminal prosecution. This is why I always say LMW is not just an incentive, it is a governance commitment. Closing. Strategic perspective. To conclude, the Licensed Manufacturing Warehouse Scheme is one of Malaysia's most powerful manufacturing facilitation tools. When used correctly, it improves cash flow, reduces cost by 20 to 30%, and enhances global competitiveness. But it demands discipline, structure, and strong internal controls. For manufacturers that treat LMW as a long-term operating model, not just a tax-saving tool, the benefits are sustainable and defensible. Thank you for listening to Ask Me Anything, Customs and SST. If you have questions on LMW, exemption facilities, or compliance challenges, feel free to reach out or submit your questions for the next episode. Until next time.